Welcome to Your Pharmacy Career podcast, proudly brought to you by Ravens Recruitment, Australia's leading specialist pharmacy recruitment agency. The podcast series has been created to shine a light on the diverse and inspiring careers of Australia's pharmacists. Each episode will focus on the varied career opportunities within the pharmacy industry by exploring the career paths taken by leaders in the fields of community pharmacy, hospital, industry, government and professional organisations. Careers never follow a defined path. Everyone's story is different and unique in their own way. The podcast series will help you discover the world of opportunities that exist and reveal pathways to achieve your dreams and aspirations. Whether you are a pharmacy student, early career pharmacist, or simply looking for a change at any stage of your career, the podcast series is designed to help you navigate ways into a career and a life that you love. Your host of the podcast series is Ali Sue. Ali, herself a pharmacist, is now the founder of Global Pharmacy Entrepreneurs and a passionate advocate for pharmacists to grow, innovate, excel, and make a lasting impact in the world. It's now over to our host, Ali Sue.
Welcome to Your Pharmacy Career Podcast. I'm Ali Sue. Today, I'm very excited to speak to Chris Owen, the Queensland Branch President and National Vice President Finance of the Pharmacy Guild of Australia. Chris is a third-generation regional community pharmacist with a keen interest in rural health and pharmacy education. He has practical experience and qualifications in rural pharmacy, as well as offering specialist services in sexual health, particularly HIV prevention and treatment. In this episode, Chris will discuss full scope of practice pilot for community pharmacists in North Queensland. If you are an early career pharmacist or pharmacy student who is interested in pharmacy ownership or simply want to advance your pharmacy career, make sure you listen to this episode. Without further ado, let's welcome Chris. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Very well, Ali. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. We're very excited. I have lots of questions for you. So
Fantastic.
Let's get right into it. So could you please share with us how you started your pharmacy journey and your current role as the president of Queensland branch at Pharmacy Guild of Australia?
Well, thanks, Ali. And my pharmacy career started, I would say, in the womb. Both of my parents are both pharmacists. So I was the child of a university romance and was born into a pharmacy family. So I graduated from Sydney University in 2006, and I then went on to manage a pharmacy for a couple of years, and then bought my first pharmacy in 2009 in New Farm in Queensland, and then bought a second pharmacy in Highfields in Toowoomba in 2011. So I got involved with the Guild in around that time, 2010, 2011, and over the next 10 years, I sort of fell into the role as I was going along, and now I'm the president of the Queensland branch of the Pharmacy Guild. So quite excited and wanting to give back to the community, the pharmacy industry. So very much part of the younger generation that's coming through with the Guild.
Wow, wonderful. At APP Rural Pharmacy Forum, you talked about the initiatives led by Guild, such as the full scope of pharmacy trial. I was really interested in this trial. What does that mean to our early career pharmacist in the next 5 to 10 years? Can you share with us, for those who didn't attend APP, what's that about? What does full scope of practice look like?
Absolutely. Well, full scope of practice in its entirety means that everything that we're trained to do, we'll legally be able to do. So at the moment, Australia ranks dead last in the OECD. We win the wooden spoon for the scope of practice for pharmacists. So what that means, and a lot of people say, what does full scope of practice mean? And it can be quite a complex definition, but the most easiest way I can define it is that we can prescribe, dispense, administer, and review all medicines. So we don't want to limit, if you've got a specific training area, we don't want to have to limit that training area just because of legislative hurdles where you can go to your part of the practice that you really want to be able to practice in. And we look at examples such as Alberta in Canada. Now they have autonomous scope of practice for prescribing in their clinical areas where they're experts at. So whether that be diabetes, hypertension, sexual health, if you've got the skills and capability to be able to prescribe and dispense in that space, then you should be able to do that. Now, obviously, we're just starting the journey to full scope in Australia. So we do have to start somewhere, and that start is the North Queensland Full Scope of Practice trial. Now, we've got an election commitment from the current Queensland government that they were to implement a full trial in this current term of government. So they're following through with that election commitment now, and we're working with the government to finalise the parameters of the trial as we speak. And that will be rolling out in the next 3 months in terms of recruitment, and then we're going to have a 12 to 16 month training platform, and then you'll be able to practice to full scope in those jurisdictions. So the area that is Mackay North all the way up to the top of Cape York and out to the border, so Mount Isa and Emerald is included as well. So it's never been a more exciting time to be involved with community pharmacy. So this is exclusive to community pharmacy. No other pharmacist will be able to practice to full scope, whether it be in southern Queensland or hospital pharmacy. The North Queensland community pharmacist will be the envy of the industry.
Wow, certainly it is very exciting. So that will include all diagnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. So the skills and knowledge that we'll gain over the course of your degree and any specialised training after that degree should be utilised to be able to provide that differential diagnosis, to be able to prescribe those drugs for those conditions. But we're also talking about the full breadth and depth of vaccination. So we want to be able to do all vaccines to all people. And we also want to be able to have some technical functions around prescriptions, such as prescription adaptation. So meaning that if a certain drug was unavailable, whether it be short or not suitable for the patient, that the pharmacist there can have the ability to substitute that for an equivalent medication. So if you're on an ACE inhibitor, for example, then that ACE inhibitor is not suitable, then you can switch across to another ACE inhibitor that's got equal potency. So that's the most important things that we do need to follow up and to make sure that there's all these technical skills around the new conditions that we're looking for, but there's also the administrative side of how we dispense prescriptions and how we can use our cognitive functions to further advance our scope in that area as well.
From what I've heard, current pharmacy students in university right now, when they graduate, they will have all the qualifications to do so. Is that correct?
From what we're hearing from the universities is that they are going to adapt their programs over the next couple of years, so that, for example, what I've been told, and it's up to the individual universities how they follow this through, but current second years would be graduating with a full scope mantra, but it would be a 5-year course. So what we understand is that the intern year will be pushed into the degree. There won't be a specific external intern year going forward. It'll just become a 5-year degree. But at that degree level will be a lot higher. So it'll be considered a master's extended, so an AQF or Australian Quality Framework Level 9, which is equivalent to what our British and UK counterparts do. Excuse me. So one thing that we've found troublesome over the past probably 10 years is professional reciprocity, which means that if we can't want to go to an overseas jurisdiction, we actually have to do another 12 months of training. Even though our degrees are world class, they aren't considered equivalent because we've been doing essentially a 4-year bachelor's. By international standards, that's behind what's required for a pharmacist. So looking to a 5-year program, we'd be doing a level master's extended, which would then bring us onto that international scale and provide some sort of reciprocity with those equivalent jurisdictions, whether it be the EU countries or the USA.
Wow, that's exciting. What about for the earlier career pharmacists? We have graduated already. What should we do now?
Yeah, so if you want to get involved straight away, head to North Queensland, and I'm sure there'll be a pharmacy willing to take you on there. But short of that, so this is probably a 5-year plan. The trial will take probably 3 years to get through, and then hopefully we'll be then rolling that out to the rest of the state going forward. So assuming we get all the right results and we get all the data that we expect out of this trial and it to be positive, then we'll have the training program will be similar. So it'll be 12 to 16 months of a postgraduate program. So we'll be retrofitting the rest of the profession. So people like me and yourself who have already graduated, if we want to be able to do these full scope initiatives, then we will need to do some further university study. But again, it would be in that 12 to 16 month category. And if you want to get the jump on it, then North Queensland's the place to be in the next couple of years.
Thank you. You talk about full scope of practice, and we see in pharmacy now increasing service vaccinations, certainly, and also specialized services. Many early career pharmacists are actually feeling the pressure from these increased services. It's very exciting. We're learning, but at the same time, we only have limited staff, still the same amount of staff as before. And many have left burnt out. What are your thoughts on that? And how can pharmacy owners prepare to support early career pharmacists?
Yeah, absolutely. And this comes back to the resourcing requirements. So when I started my pharmacy career, we had to manually sort PBS claims, which means you had to go through and make sure that they were all there. And we didn't have the ability to have automation through our packing processes or our dispensing robots. So there has been a lot of streamlining, particularly around the administrative side of pharmacy, and also through automation. We're finding that those skills that are required are shifting towards a cognitive function. So we can't have our cake and eat it too, obviously. We need to be able to adequately resource pharmacists to be able to go and achieve these new things, but not at the expense of what our regular day-to-day duties are. So of course, there's going to be an increased human capital requirement. So whether that be more techs, whether that be more pharmacists on the floor, or whether that be requirements in fitting out our pharmacies for consulting rooms. I'm assuming that most pharmacies would have a consulting room now, but we need to also adequately resource that human capital, provide incentives to do the training, provide adequate cover for people to be away for those times during the training as well. But this is the future of pharmacy, and this is where we believe that we'll bring back the prestige to the profession. I think that goes without saying that there's been a general downtrend in pharmacists who are staying in community pharmacy, number one, but also coming into the pharmacy degree at all. So we, especially at the Guild, we look at it as a life-threatening proposal, is that more and more people will be going outside of the community pharmacy network, where 77% of students are employed by the community pharmacy network, but only 30% of students will say they'll stay in it after they're graduating, which is scary, and really is beyond a beggar's belief from me, is to say that why are these people choosing to stay out of community pharmacy? And we're all clinicians in the same respect. So we have to look at internally about what our community pharmacies are providing for those early career pharmacists, and why are they looking for external support, or they're looking for other job avenues, because they obviously don't feel supported, whether it be through wages or professional growth. That we need to be able to look at this. So it's certainly something that we understand as the Guild, that we need to play our part in this industry to make sure that early career pharmacists are supported. This is a professional growth platform that you will not see in other industries. We are leading this. We have been for many years, and it is certainly something that we see as bringing the prestige and the value back to the profession, which in turn will then have a flow-on effect too. I would dare say that wages will be associated with it, and even if there is an ability to do a profit share model, that may be something in the future similar to what a doctor's surgery does, because these are going to be based on individual practitioners. There's no reason that you couldn't be going to that sort of model as well. But obviously we're talking 3 to 5 years down the track, and we need to more urgently look at the workforce issues that we're dealing with at the moment.
Many early career pharmacists or pharmacy students, they want to have the business part of pharmacy. They want to get into pharmacy ownership. But because pharmacy ownership are so hard to get into, can you give us some advice on being a community pharmacy owner? Does that look like for us in the future?
But my old mantra is there's no shortcuts to success. And one thing that millennials can be accused of, and I'm not far away from being a millennial myself, but what they're accused of is they want everything now, which sometimes can happen and sometimes can't. So we need to make sure that we have the ability to look at our long-term prospects. So where we want to be in 10 to 15 years, and then we have a 5-year plan. So most importantly, and then I did write this article back in February, I said there's 3 things that people need to do as young pharmacists to get ahead. Number 1, upskill yourself. So whether that be doing some business courses, whether it's formal education or informal education, it doesn't particularly matter. but have a mentor, have someone you can talk to about these things. Now, that mentor could be your boss. It could be someone like me who's in a elected position. Could be simply someone who you deem as successful in your local area. Talk to them about the pros and cons of ownership. And while we all can all say it's all beer and skittles, there's a lot of pharmacy owners out there that are struggling as well. They're working 70, 80-hour weeks because it's all on them. And that's the other pitfall, is that we need to look at when you're making these decisions, are we doing it for the right reasons? Are you doing it because you desperately want to be a pharmacy owner, or are you doing it because that business can be successful? And if you're running it, you can make it even more successful. The second thing that I would say is don't stay in the cities. It is almost impossible, unless you're going in as a minor partner for one of the bigger owners out there, you will not be able to get on your own 2 feet where you're going to have financial independence if you don't go rural. So there'll be a few unicorn situations where it comes off for you and you're involved with someone who's transitioning out of the business. But most commonly, if you want to make a good fist of it and you want to be able to fast track your career, buy 100% of a pharmacy in a rural area, or 50% even. You need to be able to have that financial independence, and to do that, you need to be able to make sure that you've got some credit history and you've got some backing. And it's not that difficult to be able to find someone who's willing to finance you into a pharmacy. So one of the things the Guild's actually looking at now is providing a funding vehicle for those initial deposits for pharmacies. So it's something that we'll be announcing over the next probably 6 months, but it's a My First Pharmacy platform that we'll be looking into. We'll be financing that initial deposit part where the banks will be funding the rest of it. So one of the issues that we have highlighted over a number of years is that young pharmacists don't have access to capital. So to be able to provide a solution to that problem is what we're looking very much in depth at. And the third thing that I would say, would be to look at that digital transformation. So we've got a very traditional bricks and mortar pharmacy industry. We've started to dabble into a little bit of online, and there's a lot of click and collect going with the bigger brands. But there's certainly some innovative pharmacists out there that may have some different skill sets that they can utilize in that online space. I know particularly around certain conditions, like for example, my pharmacy in the Valley is a very large sexual health area, so HIV positive population. And we've got a specific website which is dedicated to all the information about that. And it's branded Positive Pharmacy, which is not what the pharmacy's name is, but it's just more of an online marketplace that will direct us to that pharmacy as well. So between those 3 things, I think don't undersell yourself, get some extra training, go rural, or get a mentor or a funder that can help you out, and look at those innovative business models that may be popping up in the future. If you have to prove there's 2 sides of the coin. The business to pay more you need to show value to that person. But on the flip side, if you're getting paid an award rate or just above, and you're working for that award rate, you've just set your worth. If you're saying that you're worth $32 or $35 an hour, whatever it is, and that's what you're getting paid, and you're happy to work for that, that's what your worth is. Despite all the other education or all the other ability of activities that you can do beyond your normal role as a dispensing pharmacist, then you need to be able to say no, walk away, go get another job. I said, because despite without singling out individual groups, there's certainly groups out there that will offer to pay below what the market rates are. And if you're working for those people, then you need to make sure that, as I said, if you're taking that money, then that's what your value is. And if you think you're worth more, then go elsewhere.
Thank you for sharing that. So if an early career pharmacist wants to get into the business, how can they find a mentor willing to take them through this hurdle? Feel like there's a invisible doorway between the early career pharmacist and the actual ownership. Unless you're mentored by someone who's willing to share that profit loss statement with you, then you won't be able to enter into that, even the learning stage of the business or the management.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, if you're listening to this podcast, then you're probably more interested than most about furthering your career as well and finding that mentorship. So in terms of formal education, the Australasian College of Pharmacy does have diploma courses in business and specifically around pharmacy. So that's a great place to start. Secondly, in terms of finding mentoring, there's different groups that will offer, and I believe some of the pharmacy brokers and Medici Capital definitely offer mentoring programs. So if you are looking out to get into pharmacy ownership and you're looking for some opportunities to meet some owners, then certainly the pharmacy brokers. There's a Medici Capital. I know Nat Siriani. She's a very approachable person when it comes to mentoring young pharmacists. But I understand it's difficult, but even LinkedIn is a good place to start. So I've mentored a couple of early career pharmacists on LinkedIn who've just reached out to me and said, hey, this is what I'm expecting you to do. What's your thoughts? And it doesn't have to be a formalized structure. It just can be going to networking events, for example. Now, if you haven't been to APP, then that's certainly one of the best places that you can network with a number of people at once. But also, as I said, going to networking events. So whether it be specific early career pharmacist events, general events. So the Australasian College of Pharmacy holds some chapter events for theirs as well. So there's certainly avenues where you can talk to pharmacists in your local area. But even having the conversation with, if you're an early career pharmacist, say to your boss, hey, I'm interested in X. Can you help me over the next month or two to develop my skills in this? And you'd be surprised at what their sort of response is. And if it is a negative response, then maybe you need to reassess where you're working and why you're working there if they're not looking after your professional development. As an owner, as an employee, I want to make sure that my employees are learning the whole time that they're through. And we need to be able, at the end of their employment, if they happen to leave me for whatever reason, I'm never upset that I've spent time and energy and money training that person to be a better pharmacist. Because at the end of the day, what's worse? Someone who you put money and time and effort into and they leave, or you don't put that money, time and effort in and they stay. So the cost to the business is obviously much more detrimental in that second option. So I said training is always, and training and education is lifelong. Whether it's in our professional or private lives, we are always learning. And it's something that those soft skills, the emotional intelligence type questions about how we deal with our own emotions and how that projects onto other people, that's probably one of those important skills for pharmacists. We come from a very scientific background where we look at numbers, facts, figures, and we reproduce those on cue. That's essentially what a pharmacist does. So to provide those soft skills, the emotional intelligence, dealing with someone who's having a rough day and being able to say, well, okay, I understand this is what's going on, but we need to be able to do this for the next couple of hours, and then we can have a chat about it. So I certainly think that that's one thing where early career pharmacists probably struggle with that emotional intelligence side of things. Just by the nature of being pharmacists, that personal nature can sometimes be a little bit secondary to the technical skill of dispensing a prescription or giving out advice to a patient.
Wow, thank you so much. Any last words, any last advice you want to give to our early career pharmacists or students?
Yeah, well, I just think in terms of a time to be in pharmacy, it's never been more exciting. As I said, we've got so many things on the boil that will provide the community pharmacy network initially a much greater boost in our professional reward and in terms of our career progressions going forward. So it's certainly something that is not going to come without a fight. We understand that. And it's not going to be without its pitfalls and turn challenges, but it's certainly something that we have to do to be able to get us off the bottom of the list in terms of pharmacist scope of practice around the world, and to be able to help out those Australians that are in need, especially in rural and remote Australia where accessing a GP is very difficult. So definitely something that I'm very excited about. And I think that all early career pharmacists should be excited about this scope of practice opportunity because it's certainly something that's going to be taking charge of our profession over the next 3 to 5 years. And certainly something that is going to be the base for the next generation of pharmacists to provide their mark on the Australian healthcare landscape.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris.
No worries, Ali. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Your Pharmacy Career podcast, proudly brought to you by Ravens Recruitment, Australia's leading specialist pharmacy recruitment agency. If you enjoyed this episode and know anyone else who you think would benefit from it, we would be grateful if you could share it with them. Together, we help even more pharmacists develop a career and life they love. If you have any questions or suggestions about future podcast episodes, please reach out to us via email info@ravensrecruitment.com.au.